I hit start. Hey, Stefan. I hit start and hi, hello and welcome to Mary Washington's Healthcare's Living Well with Diabetes virtual forum. My name is Courtney Wilkerson, and I am a registered nurse for the Diabetes Self-Management Education and Support Services team. Our topic for this evening's discussion is all about being active and the many health benefits that come with physical activity. We have an expert panel of 3 Mary Washington associates, Matt Shaner, certified diabetes care and education specialist and exercise physiologist, Sarah Cosme, doctor of physical therapy, and Leanna Gersney, bariatric behavioral health specialist. After our panel's presentations, we will be answering your questions live. To submit a question for our panel, click on the question mark bubble in the upper right corner of your screen. And with that, I'll turn things over to our first speaker, Matt Shaner.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So first, I'm going to talk about physical activity, exercise, and how this all plays into diabetes and what to do with that. So exercise is really important for people with type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. It really helps with regulating glucose. In fact, a lack of exercise we're now finding will cause what we call metabolic inflexibility. So in this case, our bodies just aren't able to use energy properly. That can lead to type 2 diabetes. And in these cases, even though you might be cutting calories, that might not help you lose weight in these sorts of populations. So exercise is a component that is necessary to successfully stay healthy. So there's 2 definitions I want to clarify first and foremost. And all 3 of us will kind of be going through the 2 of them. First is exercise. So when I define exercise, I mean a planned, structured, and purposeful physical activity with the goal of increasing or maintaining physical fitness. So this is your time where you're dedicating to breaking a sweat. And then there's physical activity. So this is the movements carried out throughout the day where you're burning energy because you're moving your body, you're contracting muscles. This can be things like walking from your car to the grocery store. That is physical activity. So, and then before we go any deeper into physical activity, we're going to go back to high school biology. And we're going to look inside the cell. This is what's really important here. So what I want you to look at is the mitochondria. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. This is where a lot of the energy is produced for your body. This is what becomes dysregulated when you're not able to stay as active as you need to. So this picture is kind of complicated, but it shows the difference between a healthy mitochondria and a not so healthy mitochondria. So when you don't exercise, your muscles will shrink. We call that atrophy. The same thing starts to happen to your mitochondria. The mitochondria that is the powerhouse of the cell, it's not functioning as well. It's like it doesn't have like a motor without enough grease almost. So exercise keeps those mitochondria well greased and working properly. And then the third component, which is why we're all here, is insulin and exercise. So exercise, well, what insulin does, one of the jobs of insulin is letting glucose into the cell. Think of it like a key that opens the door, lets the glucose in, and your body uses that for energy. When you're exercising, there's another mechanism that lets glucose into the muscle cells. So the contraction of your muscles will actually do the same job as insulin, however, only for your muscle cells. So that working in tandem with insulin will help improve your insulin sensitivity. So we want to build more physical activity into our day, or to make it rhyme, build PA into your day. That's the first thing you really want to do if you've never exercised before. Your first goal should be just get more active. So we can do this by opening up our smartphones and looking at your health app if you have an Apple phone. Android, I think it's called the Fit app, and because all these smartphones now have accelerometers. And what I want you to look at is your average daily step count. So studies show that if the average daily step count is less than 5,000 steps per day, it's associated with cardiometabolic risk factors, such as increased lipids, hypertension, and metabolic syndrome, which leads to type 2 diabetes. So making sure you're starting at above 5,000 steps per day is really important for your health. And then the Surgeon General says that we should be aiming for a goal of 10,000 steps per day to stay healthy, which is true. So if you're closer to the 5,000 steps per day at first, gradually build up to that 10,000 steps. You don't have to do it in one day. Try to build in an extra 500 steps per week on average, 500 steps per day per week on average. Another thing you can do is what I call the 3 for 30. And the American Diabetes Association included this in their position statement in 2017, where for every 30 minutes that you're sitting, you want to get up after 30 minutes and walk around for 3. And this drastically, it increased their insulin sensitivity when they did this. So this is a really easy thing you can do in between commercials or after each episode of your favorite TV show on Netflix. Get up, walk around for 3 minutes, and then sit back down and watch the rest of it. Or if you're at work, set a timer. Every 30 minutes of sitting, get up, walk around, sit back down. This will really help with your insulin sensitivity. If you have type 2 diabetes, you'll notice this with or without insulin. And if you have type 1, you'll notice it's a lot easier to control your blood sugars during the day because you'll have that extra sensitivity working for you. So after you've started to build in some physical activity, you want to add in some planned exercise, and our other 2 speakers will talk more about this and some examples. So first goal I want for you is if you've never exercised before, build in a 20-minute walk 4 times per week. So you can see we're in Fredericksburg for anyone that's not from Fredericksburg that's listening. But this is a picture of one of our trails along the Rappahannock. So walk on that for 20 minutes, and then again, increase that by about 10 to 20% each week, make it 30 minutes the following week. And then once that becomes too easy, then you can start doing things that are a little bit harder. Doing exercise adds a lot of metabolic benefits. However, they will only last for about 48 hours. So that's why it's important to try to exercise about every other day at the very least. That's why I put 4 times per day on the slide. So exercise intensity matters too, and not in the way you would think I would tell you. Actually, quite the opposite. So low intensity is important too. So there's more and more research coming out about this, especially with Peloton and everything that people are using. It all is about high intensity exercise, and we're at fault for that. Exercise physiologists are. We used to say intervals are the quickest way to fitness, but we're now finding that's actually not true. We need the lower intensity days to help with our metabolic health and help with recovery. So whenever we're looking at what's the best for people, just like how the car industry will look at race cars to help improve their technology, we can look at the professional athletes and see what they're doing to help improve our health. And they follow the 80-20 rule. So 80% of their exercise is low intensity, 20% is moderate to high intensity. And I have this picture of a cross-country skier walking uphill here because the Olympic team in Norway is so dedicated to this low-intensity exercise that they will take their skis off going uphill so they don't put their heart rate too high. So as you can see, this is really important. This is, of course, important to metabolic health too. So there's some studies that were released in the last 2 years here showing that too much high intensity exercise actually is detrimental to metabolic health. So it can actually increase insulin resistance. So building these, again, lower intensity days in is really important. So what's low intensity? What's high intensity? So your low intensity, you still should be breaking a little bit of a sweat. However, it should be an exercise amount that you're still able to have a conversation with people, get in a sentence or two in a few breaths. If you can't talk, you're probably going a little too hard. That's low intensity. And then when you're on your high intensity days, they should be pretty high intensity. You should feel it. You don't have to kill yourself, but you should feel like you're really pushing your body. So someone that's new to exercise, that's only exercising maybe 2 to 4 times per week, I'd start, if it's, let's say, 3 or 4 times a week, start with 1 day of high intensity, 2 to 3 days of low intensity. And that'll keep you coming back too, because you won't be so sore. All right, so now we're gonna get to the meat and potatoes of this, which is all about the diabetes side of exercise, because it comes with some risk if you use insulin. So this is about insulin and exercise from insulin users. All right, so we have a few rules before starting exercise to keep yourself safe. First is check your blood sugar before you start. If your blood sugar is below 100 before you start exercise, just don't do it. Wait. Treat your blood sugar. You should know how to do that. Wait for it to come up above 100, and then you can start exercising. But Cheech and Chong are wondering, how high is too high? Well, it's kind of the wrong question. What really matters is ketoacidosis. So if you have a high blood sugar before starting exercise, you should give usually a correction bolus, maybe around 50% of what you normally give. And then you can start exercising, as long as you don't have ketones. If you're worried that you do, use a ketone tester. So if you don't have ketone urine strips, there also is meters that look like our blood sugar monitors now. Never exercise if you have positive ketones. Wait until those have resolved. And if you use the insulin pump, do not disconnect your insulin pump for 2 hours or more when you're exercising. All right, so rule number 2, during exercise, let's say you're using a continuous glucose monitor and you see your blood sugar dips below 70. You're going to stop. You want to stop for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is number 4. I'm going to jump ahead to it. Is when your blood sugar is low, your brain's not getting enough sugar, and your brain is controlling how your body is moving. So when your blood sugar is low, it really increases your risk of injury because your body it might not move in the way you want it to, or you're planning on it. So always stop and treat the low. Wait till it gets above 100 and start again. We'll jump back to number 3. Another consideration for insulin and exercise with diabetes is your normal symptoms of hypoglycemia while you're exercising might be masked. Think about it. One of the common symptoms of low blood sugar is sweatiness. Well, you exercise and you're already sweaty. And then also you're already maybe a little bit nervous. Your adrenaline's going, which is what makes you feel the way you do when you're when you have a low blood sugar. Something that might help you out is like Patrick Ewing here. If you can't do the things you're normally able to do, like catch a basketball, and it's kind of odd for you, you might have a low blood sugar. I had this like moment of realization myself. I have type 1 diabetes when I was cross-country skiing one year. I come from Michigan, so I'm really well versed in cross-country skiing. And there was this one day I was out, and I just kind of kept falling, you know. And it was maybe only my third day out that winter, so I'm like, okay, I just need to get back into this. But no, my blood sugar was low, and my body was not responding to what my brain was trying to tell it to do because my blood sugar was too low. All right, and then number 5 is the risk of low blood sugar after exercise. We call this delayed onset hypoglycemia, or as Homer Simpson calls it, DOE. So on a serious note, delayed onset hypoglycemia can probably be the highest risk when it comes to diabetes and exercise. It can occur up to 24 hours after activity, anywhere from 6 to 12 hours later. So what is it? What it is your body replenishing its glucose stores. So your muscles and your liver both store glucose, and you can see your muscles store a ton of glucose. So when you're burning that during exercise, it needs to be replenished, and at some point, 6 to 12 hours later, it might decide it's time to replenish those stores and take it out of your bloodstream. Someone without diabetes, that'll be fine. Their insulin would shut off, which would allow the liver to release more glucose and keep your blood sugar stable. But when you're using insulin, you can't do that. So just to get an idea of how much glucose you're burning during exercise, you can take a look at this table here. So if you're 150 pounds and you're doing some low intensity exercise for an hour, you probably burned about 25 grams of carb. If you're 200 pounds and doing high intensity exercise, you've burned 60 to 72 grams of carb. That's an entire meal's worth of carbohydrates, right? So yeah, there's all these risks of it, and it's really scary, so you don't know when to anticipate it, but there is a solution to mitigate this risk, and it's your post-workout snack. So dietitians will call this the golden hour. I'm going to call it the golden 30 minutes, just to be safe. So within 30 minutes of activity, you want to get some sort of high carbohydrate snack to replenish those glucose stores. That timing is important because if you go beyond that 30 minutes to an hour, your body actually becomes kind of insulin resistant if you're not getting the carbs it needs. It's kind of going into a little bit of a starvation state. So get that in then. For this meal, you should be taking insulin if you take insulin for meals. And this will start to replenish those glucose stores in your muscles and in your liver. Pre-workout fueling is important too, because it'll help you perform better, which will help you burn more calories, but it will also kind of keep those stores in check too. So a common question I have about this is, well, I'm trying to lose weight. Why would I eat all this food before and after exercise? Well, it's actually good for weight loss to time your meal directly after exercise. Some studies have shown it actually curbs appetite for the rest of the day. Those who skipped a post-workout meal snacked more throughout the day and ended up with more calories throughout that day. It helps avoid insulin resistance. Like I said earlier, if you go beyond that 30 minutes to an hour, you start to become insulin resistant. You might end up that way for the rest of the day. So all that exercise you just did to decrease your insulin resistance is gone. And then it'll obviously improve your recovery too. So when you're, it'll help you rebuild those muscles that you were breaking down during exercise and get you ready for the next one. You won't be as sore and you'll be stronger and be able to do more at the same effort. All right, so a quick little summary. I've taken up enough of your time. Is incorporate both incorporate both physical activity and exercise into your lifestyle. That physical activity is really important to keep yourself metabolically healthy. And then the benefits can go away quickly, so make sure you're exercising every 48 hours. And then add volume gradually, so only about 10 to 20% per week. And the value of low intensity exercise is really important. For insulin users, make sure you follow the rules we just went over and fuel and recover. Yep. All right, well, that's it for me. Thank you, guys. I'll turn it back over to Courtney. Oh, Courtney, we can't hear you.
So many technical difficulties. I'm sorry, everybody. Thank you, Matt. That was really great. And by the way, happy birthday. Thanks for being with us tonight. We've already got a couple questions submitted, and we will be addressing those at the end of the all three presenters. So keep sending in your questions, but we will keep things rolling. Our next presenter is Sarah, physical therapist.
Okay. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Okay, awesome. Great. All right. So my name is Sarah. So I'm going to be primarily talking about why I believe that strength training should be a really key, important type of exercise that you should be incorporating. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go over the benefits of strength training. You're going to have improved A1C, improved heart benefits, improved bone density, improved independence, and improved mood. So if we look at your improved A1C, so we all know when you're going to the endocrinologist, when you're talking to everyone is talking about your A1C levels, which are essentially, you know, the mean blood glucose levels for the past 3 months. So a couple studies kind of looked at A1C values. They looked at an aerobic group, which is kind of like your cardio, the sort of fast walking, running, that sort of type of exercise, a strength training group, and a combination of the two. And after 3 months, they found that the A1Cs of the participants in the aerobic group had 0.51% reduction in the aerobic group, 0.38% reduction in the strength training group, and nearly 1% reduction in the combination group. So you may be wondering, 1%, does that mean anything, or how is that important? The study did go on to say that a 1% reduction in your A1C can translate to a 15 to 20% decrease in heart attack and stroke risk, and 25% to 40% lower risk for diabetes-related eye or kidney disease. So, this kind of emphasizes why it's really important to add strength training for your A1C levels, because not only are we worried about the diabetic components, but we're worried about the complications of diabetes as well, which can be related to your eyes, your kidney function. Unfortunately, uncontrolled diabetes can really affect every single body system group in our body. So also heart benefits. I think a lot of people, when we hear about cardiovascular health, we immediately think of cardio aerobic exercise. And a lot of the research recently has been showing that strength training can also improve heart benefits as well. So a couple studies have shown that the reductions when practicing strength training showed reductions in around 6 millimeters of mercury in your systolic blood pressure, which is the top number whenever you get your blood pressure, and around 7 millimeters of mercury in your diastolic blood pressure, which is the lower number of the two numbers, the bottom number. So a reduction in your diastolic blood pressure, which if you want to think of your diastolic blood pressure, it's the pressure that your blood vessels are when they're relaxed. And that is a reduction of that in 5 millimeters of mercury reduces your risk of stroke by 34% and ischemic heart disease by 21%. So we both kind of, diabetes and heart issues kind of go in tandem. And so, this is another way to think of why incorporating strength training is also not only benefiting A1C levels, but also benefiting your heart as well. Bone density. I really want to emphasize bone density because I believe a lot of people, especially older population, as you get older, your aging really affects all sorts of things. And one of the systems that it really affects is your bone density, especially in women, especially postmenopausal. So with bone density, strength training, standing up, lifting weights, sitting up and down, all these different types of exercises have been shown to prevent or even reverse approximately 1% of bone loss per year. And if you want to think about, well, what does this mean in terms of my daily life? A lot of times when we have older people who slip and fall and they break their hip, that kind of sets a cascade of events that go down. So if we can keep your bones strong and bones healthy, that is going to be really good and kind of really extend your ability to live independently, extend your ability to interact with your community, and extend and decrease the likelihood of you being put in residential facilities, those type of things. So the last two slides of increased independence and increased mood are kind of the two slides that I really want to focus on. I think a lot of times we always hear the importance of exercise, the importance of strength training. We have all these physiological benefits, but I really want to talk about how quality of life can really change exponentially with strength training. So again, I kind of already briefly mentioned that normal aging affects all body systems. It affects your skin, it affects your brain, and it's all normal, it affects your bones. It's normal what happens. But the key is that resistance training, and this one study it was in addition to functional training, so they were only doing it 2 times a week, has been shown to improve the ability to perform activities of daily life, also nicknamed as ADLs. So such as getting in and out of your car, getting in and out of a tub, getting dressed, grocery shopping, walking, from your car to the parking lot. All of these different things were improved by 21 to 26%. So what you want to think about is strength training is really giving you the means and the load to be able to carry out your daily life easier and do tasks which require doing the tasks that you need to do every day at an easier. You're not working as hard. So that can help increase your independence. It can help you stay out of assisted living. It can help decrease, the risk of family or other people being your caregivers. So think of that, as a way of why you want to start incorporating strength training into your physical activity, into your fitness. And the final good reason of why you should be including strength training is the increase in mood. So a lot of studies have shown that resistance training has been shown to improve overall mood, reduces anxiety, improved quality of sleep, which can also quality of sleep also helps impact your recovery. So when you're getting that deeper sleep, you're having better recovery, you're waking up more refreshed. It can reduce your tension and stress, improve vigor, and increase self-efficacy. The other really cool thing that I've noticed with strength training in terms of increased mood, not even in terms of increased mood, it's just the increase of ability to do things. So if you are someone that's on the fence of thinking about whether you want to start doing strength training, I would implore you to try and think about different ways in which your life you want to change. For example, is getting and playing with your kids on the floor and standing back up. Is that something that's an important goal to you? Or playing with your grandkids? Or going up 2 flights of stairs without huffing and puffing? Is that a goal that you want to work on? Carrying your groceries from the car to your house in one load. Is that something that you want to work on? By focusing on these different things within your life that are still challenging, or you're finding yourself working a little bit more, by focusing on those type of goals that you want to work on are going to make you more likely to stick with strength training and more likely to stick with all the different activities that we're offering, rather than thinking about, I need to lose X amount of weight, I need to look a certain way. If you focus on different sort of tasks that you want to get better at, or different goals in terms of connecting with other people, you're going to find yourself a lot more successful in terms of sticking with everything. So I kind of briefly talked about all the different ways that strength training can have all these numerous benefits, and I believe that a lot of people are a little bit leery or hesitant on, and hopefully these the 5 examples that I talked about allowed you to kind of be a little bit more excited to do strength training. So I also wanted to talk about, a lot of times, when we do start exercising, we start to get pain, or we already know that we have pain in our back or pain in our knees. So these are different variables that I want you guys to kind of think about before you decide, well, I can't do exercise. So these are different variables that you can modify, or you can think about when you're in pain and you're trying to figure out, how can I successfully do exercise that without, spiking my pain. So the first thing that you can do is the number of reps. So if you are you're doing kind of weights and you're doing, in a 12 to 15 type rep range and you start to feel pain, what if you reduce the reps? Does that help? Another thing you can do is range of motion. So instead of performing the full range that your joints allow, if you only do a partial range, then let's see if that works. So, for example, if you can't do a full squat where you're squatting all the way down and then coming back up, what if you do a half a squat, or you squat to a chair, or you squat to a box? Different things like that are just an example to think about. Another variable that you can do is speed. So if you're blowing through a set of 15 reps in, 15 seconds, that might be, why you're having pain. If you slow down the lift, kind of take your time with it, really focus on the mind and muscle connection, maybe that's something that can help decrease the pain. Also frequency. Matt kind of already kind of discussed this a little bit, that, exercise can be based on a spectrum. You can do too much exercise. So if you're someone that you're noticing that you're starting to feel pain and you are, for example, running 6 days a week, maybe we need to decrease that frequency and see if that's something that needs to be addressed and if that kind of helps decrease the pain. And another variable is duration. If you're doing any sort of exercise. It doesn't even have to be strength training, but if you're doing, you know, a cardio workout for 90 minutes and you're feeling pain after the 90 minutes, what if you drop it down to 60 minutes or 45 minutes and see how that is? Finally, the last variable that you can do is intensity. So same kind of what Matt was kind of talking about a little bit, that, you know, you're constantly doing those high intensity, trying to think about running or those higher intensities. What if you kind of incorporate some of the strength training exercises or go at a little bit slower speed and see if that modifies the pain? The goal for this is, you know, I want everyone to be able to try and self-manage and see if they can figure something out. And of course, if you're still feeling, you know, you've tried a couple of these things and you're still feeling pain, then I would say, yes, that's time to go to a medical professional and maybe even see me, a physical therapist, and we can kind of discuss the different ways to help modify, or if there's some other, you know, mechanical reason that we need to work on first, and then hopefully, you know, we can get you back to doing what you were doing. So hopefully, and these are all my references, but hopefully I just wanted to show you guys why I really believe that strength training should be more utilized within our population, and especially within the people who have diabetes population as well, and different kind of variables to think about if you're starting to experience pain when you're doing exercise. All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Sarah. Our last speaker for this evening is Leanna. She is a wellness specialist for the Weight Loss Center.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. So yes, my name is Leanna. I'm super excited to be here. I was a personal trainer for 11 years, a certified personal trainer and health coach. And now working at the Weight Loss Center, I help specialized exercise programming, as well as other behavioral changes for those undergoing weight loss surgery. But in my career path, I have really honed in on my passion for health coaching and helping us overcome those barriers that we might find and drive up the motivation to help us stay consistent with those health changes. So in terms of exercise, we really want to look at what are some of the barriers that we all go through, including myself. Everybody looks at exercise in different ways. Maybe it's exercise, like Sarah said, gave you a little bit of pain. Maybe exercise, you've never felt like you were good at it. Or maybe exercise to you means you have to do it in a gym. So that is a whole other ball of wax. Do you feel comfortable in that setting? Did you have a bad experience in that setting? Sorry, I'm just checking to see. So anyway, we all have our own thoughts on how to begin an exercise program, and maybe even you're someone who starts out really strong. You start an exercise program and then you realize, oh, I taper off and I can't get the motivation and drive to get back on track. So this is kind of something we all go through, right? And you're not alone there. So basically the main driver that I try and tell all of my clients is it's a mental shift. Exercise should not be defined as something that you have to do, or like a punishment, or you loathe it because, oh, I ate the wrong things today, let me just go try and run, and especially if you don't like running. So exercise is more like a mindset. What is my body able to do? What am I gonna get to do to relieve my stress? Exercise now is used to kind of fuel my mood. I feel better when I exercise. And then if you're someone who is like, I hate exercise, I've never liked it, I'm never gonna like it, hey, you're not alone either. So maybe switching the idea of calling it exercise altogether and cleaning the slate and calling it movement. Do you hate moving? No, we all wanna move. And for, like Sarah said, the quality of life, it's necessary, right? So what movement can we add into our day? And again, what Matt and Sarah were talking about, these are things that are real life scenarios, right? So today we're going to talk about how are we able to get down on the floor and use our body and muscles to play with our grandkids. If we're not strong enough now, how do we get there? And exercise is one of those modes that's pretty hard to navigate on your own. So we'll talk about progression. How do you start an exercise program? Especially what if I'm not going to go to a gym and I'm at home? How do I begin that type of exercise program? And talking about some of the motivating factors is kind of important, because sometimes we don't have the ongoing motivation day in and day out. Do you ever wake up and you're like, wow, I don't want to do jumping jacks? Yeah, like every single morning. So, but the important thing is kind of, again, holding yourself accountable. And how do you do that? Are you someone who makes excuses? Who doesn't? Again, it's relatable. But we need to start honing in on how can we make it happen. And I think the magic and where the rubber meets the road for that and for you is, how are you going to stay accountable and consistent? Because when you're looking at a health change, when you're looking at your blood sugar management, when you're looking at insulin uptake and how exercise can play a part in that, consistency. We have to do it consistently. All right. We can't do it one day a week, just like you can't eat healthy one day a week and expect to see like this beautiful health change, right? Consistent. So how do we do that? So some of my best tips are join a challenge with folks you know or don't know. So maybe that's taking your lunch break and instead taking a buddy or a coworker and going on a 10-minute walk at lunch. Maybe that is using a tracker, like Matt said, on your phone, or on like an Apple Watch that I'm wearing. Maybe it's joining an online or Facebook page that has like fun little challenges that are enjoyable and fun for you to get connected with others who have similar goals as yours. Maybe it's getting your family and friends connected with you, so they're kind of along the ride with you, your kids. Do they like to do YouTube dance videos? Okay, well, maybe hop up and join them. Put down the cleaning, put down your phone, get up and move a little bit, get that heart rate up. All of it counts, right? So I call this habit stacking. How about we try and add exercise to things we're already doing? If you're texting on your phone, if you are looking at something, looking at Zillow on your phone, who knows? Can you move around, get outside, and move around while doing that? Can you call someone that you need to make appointments for your kids or your doctor's appointment or dentist? Okay, can we move around while we do that? As Matt said, we can have like a 3 to 10 ratio is what I call it. So 3 times a day, can you move for 10 minutes? And where does that window work for you? Life gets lifey, you know, like life can get a little crazy. And so if you schedule exercise at the end of the day with good intentions, does life happen sometimes where your best intentions are to move and then you can't because, you know, your kid fell off the porch and you have to now tend to a scrape on the knee? You never really know. So where in your day can you identify that you have small windows of open time? Sometimes that's going to be before work if you're working right now. Sometimes that might be after work, but setting alarms and scheduling that for you is going to be your best bet. And it sounds silly to schedule an alarm for you to move, but guess what? When you're at work and you're inundated with things, it's hard to even remember to eat and drink water, right? So schedule and plan your exercise because it's important for your health and for your sugar regulations. So if you're going to go to the doctor and make it important and schedule your doctor's appointments, make exercise that important too and schedule it for yourself. Let's see, add music. Do you like audiobooks? Do you like podcasts? Maybe downloading something that when you're on a walk, especially if you're by yourself, something that you look forward to. So yes, you're waking up a little earlier. I'm not a morning person either, but to make it happen, I'll listen to a new podcast or an audiobook when I'm warming up, and it kind of gets my energy levels going. So I'm not just like out of bed, ready to rip someone's face off because I'm not a morning person, right? So figure out what works for you and what can drive you to keep it going. It doesn't have to be your favorite thing, but it needs to be something that you can do. So again, making movement happen, try to do something that you enjoy. It doesn't, again, have to be your favorite thing on your list, but something that you can do day in and day out. So swimming, if you're going to an outdoor pool, but the pool's not open 9 months of the year, I think it's a great mode, but how are you gonna do and get exercise in consistently throughout the other 9 months, right? So anyway, the last point on that, on exercise in general, is spice it up, add variety. If you're someone who's like, I hate the treadmill, and you have a treadmill and you're like dreading it every day, is that really sustainable? Maybe that's why you've fallen off the exercise train before, because it's not something you like. All right, trash that idea and think of something you do like. Maybe you're someone who likes to dance, but you're uncomfortable in a fitness class with lots of people around. COVID has brought the best professional workout videos around. So look for these keywords if you're gonna do home workouts via YouTube. Low impact. If you're looking for something and you're new to exercise and you don't know where to start, look up low impact, 10 to 15 minutes, you know, cardio-based workout if you're looking to just drive up your energy and move more. Or you can look up 10-minute beginner strength body weight exercises. Because what if you're like, I don't have all this equipment, where can I start? Use your body, right? So those are some keywords there. Now is for the fun part. I'm going to actually, I'm in my basement, as you can see. So I'm going to move my chair back. And I just want to kind of move everyone through a few exercises that you can do at home with weights, with body weight, because like Sarah said, and Matt was commenting on as well, strength training is going to be one of your best bets for sugar regulation, insulin sensitivity. So what I'm going to do is spice things up, using that word again, and we're going to do a Tabata style. So if you've ever heard of it, don't shake in your boots yet. We're going to do a modified, and what this means is 20 seconds of movement followed by 15 seconds of recovery. It's a mental mindset. You get 15 seconds to rest, and then we're going to do 20 seconds of movement again. And I'm going to actually combine this type of workout. We're going to do some cardio aerobic base to get our hearts pumping, and we're also going to do some strength base to get our muscles stronger, right? So we're able to get up and down from the floor without pain, put the boxes on top of the garage shelves without pain, hold in those 2 gallons of milk, which are about 8 pounds each, but it feels super heavy, right? Build up to that. So let's do it. Okay, I'm gonna move my chair. You do not have to move around with me, but, okay, so I'm using, can y'all see my feet? Can everyone see my feet? Okay. Can you still hear me? Okay. All right. So you always want to start with a warm up. And so we'll do something low impact together. Right now, I coach for a virtual fitness company called Daily Burn. You probably heard of it. I also coach for another company called Energy Up, which is another rockin' free subscription, y'all. So I'll throw that out there. And daily workouts, but you always want to start with a 3 to 5 minute workout. Warm up. And I'm going to start with 1 minute. Okay, so we're not going to do the whole thing. And I'm starting a timer on my phone because this is just a fun way to add activity in a really quick format, which is Tabata. Okay, high knee is another easy way to get your body going. Look, exercise does not have to be fancy. I tell my clients this every single morning. Just move, side touch. Here, good. Get moving, right? Now move the arms, get your arms pumping. All right, so let's fast forward. Let's pretend we've already warmed our bodies up, preparing our muscles for activity, 3 to 5 minutes. And that's really important. Don't cut your warm up short. You really want to get your muscles warm to move better, right? So I have 2 dumbbells here, but what if you don't have dumbbells? That's fine. You can use your body weight. You can use cans from your pantry. You can use water bottles, which are great. You hear that beep? Here we go. So the first exercise we're going to do is just a body weight squat. And you want to make sure that your toes are in front of your knees so that your knees are rocking in front of your toes. So we're not going to squat down. No one sits on a chair like this. with your bottom inwards, right? You want to sit your hips back as if you're reaching for a chair with your bottom, and then come right on up, driving through the backs of your shoes, your heels, right? I want you to wiggle those toes in your shoes. I don't want the weight rocking into your big toe, okay? So let's go to 10 squats, down and up. So let's say you have, any type of knee pain and you're like, I don't do squats, I'll never do squats. Here's something I want you to try. I'm gonna move my camera. Hello. You can always try a wall squat. Let me see if you can see my feet. Shoulder blades and back on the wall. Make sure you walk your feet out. Your bottom is on the wall, your feet are in front. And you're going to slowly go 2 to 3 inches down, pushing off those heels, 2 to 3 inches up. Just like Sarah said, you don't have to go all the way down into a full squat. Do what your body allows you to do, okay? Yep. Just like this. So that's a nice wall squat option. All right, we're going to take it back to the chair. What about something for like, I'm going to put the milk in the fridge, or I need to pick up my groceries. So if you have a weight, this is a great time to grab it. If you have a water bottle, you can use that to start adding some resistance to your program. So with the weight, if you have a chair, you can have one chair on the back of your chair, and I want you to bend down like you're grabbing a grocery bag, you know, from the ground. So here are the keys. I don't want you to hunch. I don't want you to round your shoulders forward. Okay, so I want you to roll your shoulders back, and then you're going to stick your bottom out and hinge from the waist forward, letting your arm dangle straight down from your shoulder. Brace your abs. And here's a quick tip about bracing. We use it all the time, but do you really know what that means? If I was to come up and kind of push you and you're gonna rock away, you would brace for that impact, right? If someone was to come up and just boop you in the stomach, you would brace. Another way to think about bracing your core, because this is important with every exercise, is to make sure that, like if you were to cough and you put your hand on your stomach, when your core braces in, that is what I mean when I say brace. So it's not exactly sucking in your belly button like you're gonna put on the tightest pair of jeans. If you were to cough with your hand on your belly button and you feel your stomach, your abdominals bracing, that's what that means. And with every exercise that you're doing, bracing is so important to protect your back. Okay, so back to our movement. We have one more movement after this. Place your hand on the back of the chair for support. All right, hinge, keeping the shoulders pulled back, and you're going to pull up like you're starting a lawnmower. Squeeze your cheeks and not the ones on your face. Okay, so pull up to your underarms and down. Pull up to your underarms. Look 2 to 3 feet in front. Good. Now notice I'm not rocking, okay? Keep everything nice and still. Pull up to your underarm. What this is doing is working those nice muscles in your upper back and then some good muscles in your arms too. All right. We can also do, there's so many exercises out there. I'm going to send everybody, I'll finish with one of my favorite abdominal exercises, and then you can do so many different things, but I want you to think about working big muscle groups, okay? So things like wall push-ups, wall squats. You can use the back of the chair and do things like lunges in reverse to protect those knees, okay? Lunges are a tricky move, but I like the idea of going in a reverse lunge so you learn the move easier and you protect those joints, okay? So I will send everybody a link to a really good starting point for a home-based strength workout. That is something that you would want to incorporate on non-consecutive days. No 2 back-to-back days. Let those muscles recover. That's super important. And I also want you to think about starting 1 round of all the moves. Don't start out with 3. Even if you were an exerciser in your past and you're like, oh, I could do 3 sets in a row. Start with 1 if you're getting back into it, and about somewhere between 10 and 15 repetitions would be nice. So that is kind of how you would progress, and you can go up to 2 days a week of your strength program, and you can get really creative with it. So you can go a little bit longer, but you'd want to talk to someone like a personal trainer to kind of make sure you're not overtraining. Okay, so I will hold off on the abdominal exercise just for everybody's time's sake. And if you're joining me, you're hopefully breaking a sweat. Okay, so thank you for joining me, everybody, and check out that link. And if you need any additional exercises, I have a slew of them that Courtney can reach out, and I can send those out to anyone who's viewing. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Leanna. And thank you to all of our panelists. This is such great, wonderful, really important information. I will be publishing the link that Leanna was talking about, as well as a few handouts that she's provided me. But now, time to answer some questions. So this first question that was sent in is actually for Leanna. So they were asking, how do I know when it's time to spice up my workout?
I would say a great time to spice up your workout is right now. I think it's good. There's things called muscle confusion, and there's your body can adapt to exercise pretty quickly. But you can stick with probably the same type of exercise actually for a few weeks to months, but just making sure maybe you're just adding spice to how quickly you do that exercise. So if you're walking, maybe try a new path. Don't try the same path you walk for years and then you're like, oh, I started seeing results and now I don't anymore. So I would say maybe do the walk in reverse, not walking backwards, but like literally go in reverse, or adding some incline, adding some light hills. If you're doing the same strength program for months at a time and you're like, I started to feel some gains, I started to see progress, and now I've stalled out. I've hit a plateau and I'm getting tired of the video that you sent me, Leanna. Why isn't it working anymore? You can do different exercises. There's so many exercises you can do for each muscle group. You can try a different type of class, and maybe you do a dance class one day. Maybe you do yoga another day. Maybe you go walk the Rappahannock Trail another day. So adding variety to exercise is a good thing. Just plan it before you do it, so you have a game plan waking up and you know exactly what to look forward to. But I think adding spice and variety to your workouts every week can keep you progressing and helping you prevent plateaus.
Thank you. This next one looks like it's for Sarah. Somebody is asking, what's better, low weight, high repetition, or high weight, low reps?
I can't mute. Okay. I would say that it depends on what you're doing. So if you are actually trying to build muscle and do muscle hypertrophy, I would say that what you would want to do is higher weight, low reps. So if this is the first time, but I would also caution against, if this is the first time you're doing any sort of strength training, I would start on the lower side at first. So you kind of get used to the movement, you get used to where you're putting the dumbbell or the barbell or whatever weight training implement you're using, but start out on the lighter side and you can always go up, so if you do the first week and you're feeling pretty good, you don't really have too much muscle soreness, you're feeling pretty good, go ahead and bump up the weight a little bit and bump it up a little bit more so you're doing less reps. So the goal is you would want to do less reps around, you can go like 8 to 15 is like kind of the rep ranges you want to be. 15 is more of the endurance kind of endurance type of stuff. So kind of shy away from that. If you can stay towards the like 8 to 10 rep range, you're still going to be getting gains with the higher rep range, which you're still going to, especially if you're a novice person at strength training, but try and go towards the lower end if you're able to.
Thank you. One question just came in, and I think Matt might want to field this one. The question was, what is the blood glucose number you should have when starting exercise if you're not on insulin?
That's a great question. So if you're not on insulin or any hypoglycemic agent, so that would be also glipizide, blood sugar isn't really something you need to worry about. If it's above 300, you should check for ketones. But if it's below that and you're not on, like I said, a hypoglycemic agent, you should be okay. Don't worry too much about your blood sugar.
Speaking of blood sugar, another question. Why do I sometimes have an elevated blood glucose right after I finish my workout? And maybe Matt, if you wanted to speak to that as well.
Yeah, so I kind of spoke to this earlier. After exercise, you might go into this state where you need extra energy. Sometimes, especially for high intensity exercise, you might get an elevated glucose during exercise. And that might be actually what's going on. Actually, I have a demonstration of that as well. So different kinds of exercise will make your blood sugar go high. And sorry, show you. So this is from the American Diabetes Association. Higher intensity exercise, as we mentioned earlier, like the Tabata workouts, they're very stressful for the body. They lead to more of a cortisol release. So they will lead to potentially a higher blood sugar before and during, after exercise, or sorry, during and after exercise. So things like sprinting, golf, even if you're not walking the golf course, football, think about it. Each play is only about 15 seconds long. And then your team sports like basketball or soccer or something like that, in general, they're pretty aerobic, so they will decrease your blood sugar, but the emotional part of it might raise your blood sugar. When you get emotions involved, when you get really amped up, that can increase your blood sugar too, because again, it releases some of those stress hormones. So I think that answers that question.
Thank you so much. I looked at the clock. We are a little after 8 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and wrap things up here. Thank you again to all of our panelists. If you want to rewatch this forum, you could use the same link, or you could go to our website, diabetes.mwhc.com, and rewatch this forum and other forums from 2020. Thanks everybody again for tuning in and learning with us tonight. Thank you and good night.